Today for Mindset Monday, we're going to start with helping your child with ideas to build up their writing confidence. When a child learns how to talk, they start with one word at a time. The same is true with writing. We start with sounds and easily transfer them into written words. Rhyming helps to do that. We begin with sounds like hat, sat, rat. They hear these sounds and their curiosity is piqued when they start realizing that word can be put down on paper. And so you write out the word at and you change out the first letter. And so they're starting to realize that, oh, there are different words that are made from this. Connecting sounds to letters opens up a whole world of written words. Now they're ready to continue the natural progression by doing something creative like writing a card. And in that card, they'll say something like, I love you, Mommy, anything that gets them to write. Once they have written a sentence down, that's major. So now there's an excitement there as to expressing themselves on paper. In doing this, you would want to help them by having them rewrite the sentence that they wrote correctly, just step by step. That is crucial in helping them to continue progressing forward. Now in the formal teaching, then they start learning the sentence structure and what a noun, verb, and all the other parts to the sentence are. But you don't have to go into all that. Your job is to keep them encouraged in writing. And in doing this, what you'll do is you'll begin to help them bring ideas together. As they describe the story, a scene begins to unfold in their mind. How they encourage them to sit down and write that story. In doing this, you are encouraging your child with positive experiences so that when they do have to write, they're already familiar with the steps to take. A word of warning. I strongly recommend that you do not allow your child to spell out words the way they think they should be spelled. Some teachers encourage this to not to interrupt the writing flow, but encouraging a habit of undisciplined spelling will tear down what they've already gained in learning how to spell. Instead, I would encourage them to ask you questions as to how to spell a word. With that, you have the opportunity to maybe emphasize a spelling rule or show them the exception to a rule. Now, the way you would do this is not to interrupt their story, but as they ask you, Mom, how do I spell delight? And you say D-E-L-I-G-H-T. I-G-H sounds like a long I letter. And then you go on. That way, they're not being interrupted with the whole spelling lesson. You just interject it because that does come back in their mind later, because as they're writing, they're hearing what you're saying, and so that brings it back to memory. Also, if it's something like an exception, like they're asking you, how do you spell bread? And you spell it out for them, B-R-E-A-D, then you just say, oh, and the E-A has a short vowel sound instead of a long vowel sound. And then you go on. Very quick. As your child is developing this storyline, then you start developing even more, saying, okay, what do you think happened at the beginning and how do you think it ended? And so then that way they have all of the parts to the story. So in this progressive learning, they start with learning how to write down words, to expanding to paragraphs in looking at a picture, to actually completing a full story. So you have different components that are light, but at the same time still disciplined so that the spelling is still being taught. It's a constant and intentional process that's going to help them in their writing as they continue forward. So when they go back to school, they will be prepared and confident.